I've been having so much fun doing requests and alternative type stuff that I haven't actually done a proper series in a while. It's time to fix that right now, and this is one that I've been saving. The first ever really epic match that I ever got to cast on this channel was between these two players, Reynor and ShoWTimE. They rarely let me down. So this best of 3 comes from the group stages, and it's the first significant tournament since Reynor became king of the world. And so you would think that ShoWTimE was the clear underdog, and he is. Except that ShoWTimE has a real habit of taking down top Zergs, and he does so quite regularly. Reynor and Cyril are just not comfortable playing ShoWTimE, particularly if he can take them to the late game. Oh, Reynor's drone does a little check for proxies before he goes hatch first. That's pragmatic. You can get our Protoss player by subscribing to Paramount for just $5.99 a month because he's ShoWTimE!
Annihilate!
Current world rank 14.
Here comes the extractor pool for our Zerg player. We are playing on the map Oxide. It's a smaller map and it mines out a lot faster than some of the other maps we're used to. The mid-game is often decisive and game-ending. Nexus before Core for ShoWTimE. Core first has really become a thing in PvT. I'm not sure it's as impactful in PvZ. But I have a question for you. If our Zerg player is the reigning world champion, is it grammatically correct for me to call him Reynor?
Current world rank 3.
ZVP is Reynor's statistical best matchup. He has an absolutely shocking 70% win rate. The pustulant pop of the hatchery occurs, and we've got 2 queens, 4 lings. Meanwhile, ShoWTimE's core is getting close to completion. Reynor's got his overlord in position to witness what happens next. And that's going to include an adept, but no chrono boost. And the tech choice is going to be a Stargate, no delay on that. Reynor has requested a pause, but we're not going to see it in the game. That is the magic of replays. ShoWTimE's scouting probe has outstayed its welcome. It's potentially going to be a first blood here. 4 lings are going to hunt it down while a drone takes the third for the Zerg. Reynor has selected his lateral third. ShoWTimE has begun researching chrono boost. Oh, that probe's just a glutton for punishment. The lings give up the chase and the probe pulls right back. I think ShoWTimE's hoping to lure them into his adept. Interesting, Reynor's going for the overlord speed. His overlord could actually just go in right now. There's nothing that can shoot up to stop him. But Reynor doesn't know that, and overlord speed never hurts. As Special once said famously in an interview, overlord speed is the most OP upgrade in the game. It wrecks all of Terran's surprises. I can't believe that ballsy probe is still alive. ShoWTimE hasn't actually finished his wall off, but with 2 adepts there, he's probably well covered. Never mind, second gateway's going in right now. That overlord's making his move because speed's about to complete. He's gonna find a void ray in production at the Stargate. Correction, he's gonna find it finished. A fast, upgraded overlord is fast, but still not faster than a void ray. That means he's gonna be our first blood and also let the void ray get scouted. And speaking of speed, ling speed is now halfway done. The old metabolic boost. Sounds like an expensive drink at your local health store. And ShoWTimE's gonna take his third. Reynor's gonna be denied the scout on this. And he might lose a second overlord if he's not careful. Reynor has the pullback, but I think he's a little bit too late. ShoWTimE's void ray is locked on. But boy do I love how the graphics seem to make it look like the guts are spilling down that endless chasm. It's such attention to detail. Having lost that overlord, Reynor has to know the void ray is coming around on his right hand side. But his queens are still out of position and he's gonna get a drone. No! Reynor saves it with a last second spore transformation, and I do mean last second. And Oracle was the second thing to follow that void ray out of that Stargate. ShoWTimE's gonna swing it around to the left-hand side and see if he can find any weakness there at the main. But instead he's gonna find a well-positioned spore. And the 2 queens might even leave that Oracle trapped and cornered. That's not ideal, but the real story here is that ShoWTimE's actually finishing a second Stargate up. This is the modern double Stargate build that's so hard for Zerg to deal with. Reynor going for Lair. He's doing that before Roach Warren, before Baneling Nest. Very greedy. He's ordered a round of 6 drones. That was the double Stargate, but behind it was a Twilight Council and a Forge in production. Reynor's creep spread looks insanely good, but I have to take into account that the map is Oxide. Everybody seems to look great on Oxide. Reynor's working on an Evo chamber. ShoWTimE's already started +1 attack. Double Void Rays being produced out of that Stargate now. Reynor needs to know this. Zerg does not fare well when he learns about it when the Void Rays are on his doorstep. The Oracle got free and got the Scout on the lair timing, and now ShoWTimE's gonna add that Robo. Also the Zealot leg upgrade. Reynor's gonna add +1 attack range. It would be nice if he actually had a Roach or a Hydra to go with that. He is just delaying things and cutting corners in order to get the economy he needs to deal with ShoWTimE. Somehow ShoWTimE has been able to match him on workers. I think part of the reason for that is Reynor has gone pretty hog wild on the queens. He's got 7 with 3 more in production. He is definitely getting prepared for double Stargate. ShoWTimE with the gateway explosion, Reynor taking his 4th. Both our players have been relatively quiet so far. And thus far that's been beneficial to Reynor. He's just starting a Roach War now. ShoWTimE for his part, he's working on a Battle Duck. ShoWTimE's macro is just off the charts. Somehow he just gets everything all at once. And that's gonna include going up to 10 gates apparently. Reynor with a round of 12 drones. He jumps up to 81. And just like that, both our players are gonna be so ready for the mid game. I know it's late, but let's enjoy an opening warp gate ceremony. 4 Templar warping in, no doubt for Archon production. Reynor just finishing that Roach War, and he hasn't stopped with the Queen production. He's actually making 3 more. He's got more Queens than any other unit, and he's using double Overseers to get very solid scouting of ShoWTimE's bases. It's an expensive way to do it, but for Reynor, information is money. ShoWTimE's gonna start researching Storm, and he's also started his 4th base. Both our players picking up +1 attack around the exact same time. There's that shiny 4th base. As you may know, the 4th for Protoss is always extra shiny. It's amazing that Oracle's still kicking around with so many queens. Oh, Reynor's got it in like a complete surround here. That was like a wolf pack. Though I love that ShoWTimE gets one final revelation off before he dies. Reynor has so many queens he can afford to keep them really far forward. No wonder his creep is well beyond the halfway point on the map. 15 queens he's got. Both players just cheating heavily with minimal units here. There's gonna be a huge fight at some point with these 2 mega economies, but that huge fight is not happening right now. You don't really expect this kind of deferred aggression on Oxide. Oh, look at this, the queens are coming right up. It wasn't a taxi, it wasn't a queen march, the queens just slowly ambled up. Fortunately, ShoWTimE's one lone observer was in the right spot to spot this, he knows it. Amazing how Reynor pivots on a dime. All of a sudden, he's got himself an army and a big one, and it's right on ShoWTimE's doorstep. I'm not sure why ShoWTimE's looking to meet him on the low ground, though. That seems disadvantageous. I think he was just hoping to pick off a few units, and then he'll retreat to the high ground. There he goes. Definitely want to be near those shield batteries. Oh, I bet Reynor wishes he could switch his queens with his Ravagers right now. Ravagers on Void Rays doesn't work nearly as well. There, he's shuffling. ShoWTimE has shockingly few Void Rays for a double Stargate build. I talked about how Reynor was greedy, but it might turn out that it was ShoWTimE. Oh, but he's really using force fields well here. A lot of Reynor's army stuck at the back, not contributing. And ShoWTimE looks to be trying to add disruptors. That would be highly effective against Reynor's army if it stays bottled up in that pit at the bottom. He's actually making 16 more roaches right now. We're talking about a really full pit here. We talk about the kill box all the time. This is kind of like a kill bowl. +2 is going to finish up for ShoWTimE as well. That's going to compound things. Reinforcing roaches are streaming in. The disruptors are here, but they require ShoWTimE to be microed. The shield batteries are just exhausted. Oh, here comes our kill bowl. There is nowhere to run in the kill bowl. Quality death animation. Oh yeah, disruptors were exactly what was called for here. ShoWTimE's even adding another one. Reynor's getting an infestation pit. He's figured out this isn't working and he's looking to transition. I think he's just about gone from 15 queens to 0. And the disruptors are off cooldown. There's nowhere to hide. Reynor may be busting up the ramp, but there's nothing really left of his army. Not that ShoWTimE has much of an army left either. Reynor's adding a Spire. I think he knows he has to start thinking about late game now. He's also trying to remake his queen. He's got one brewing in every single hatch. ShoWTimE's making a warp prism. He's thinking about countering. Reynor's gonna add a 5th base in that center left location. I guess he needs a way to finance his next 1,000 queens. I love ShoWTimE's adaptation adding these Phoenix in. Without queens around, they're just having free reign here. Sure, there's corrosive biles, but that's pretty much it. Reynor's making 2 Baneling nests at the same time. I'm assuming that's a misclick, but it could be some kind of redundancy plan. Actually, he's canceled his Spire and replaced it with that 2nd Baneling nest. Can't question a guy who's forgotten more about this game than I've ever known. But I don't know if that's going to be enough to hold against the double starport transition that's probably coming. Thanks to that kill bowl, ShoWTimE's efficiency has really been high. And his 4th base is up and running. That's going to leave Reynor scrambling to defend the Protoss counter. Clearly the plan is to do with Banelings. He's got Baneling speed researching and 1924 Banes on the way. When you put it that way, I guess I gotta agree. There are very few problems that can't be solved by 24 Banelings. It is problematic that they don't have centrifugal hooks though. Though I guess it doesn't matter if ShoWTimE just walks right into them. Hard to know for sure, but for the most part, I think ShoWTimE just absorbed that with his Archons. Ah, here's what that warp prism was for. ShoWTimE's not reinforcing his main army. He's gonna warp in some Neeblots. Great preemptive drone pull by Reynor here. I don't want to overlook that ShoWTimE's getting a fleet beacon. He's also adding +1 air attack. His +3 melee's just about to finish. There's a very high probability that we'll be looking at carriers. Reynor's gonna want to be remaking that Spire. He is maxed, and he is building a mineral bank. No gas bank, because all his gas is going into Banelings. Whereas ShoWTimE's minerals all just went into making 8 more Zealots. You would think double spine crawlers would be enough. They just cut right through that like a hot knife through butter. Oh, and then a recall once the Roach Brigade arrives. I like that. And he's also taken a 6th base. We're only 1 base short apiece for a split map scenario. Wow, Reynor's Lings completely outmaneuvered the disruptors there. How Reynor multitasks that while managing this larger battle at the same time, I have no idea. ShoWTimE has indeed started carriers. He's on the run from the mass Banelings. His supply is crashing and his counterattack is blunted. Reynor's even restarted that Spire. Just when I thought it was darkest for Reynor, he's muscled his way back into this like a boss. He's kinda out of Banelings for the moment, but he's done the damage he wanted to do to ShoWTimE's army. Just not economically. ShoWTimE's actually got 85 workers. 29 Banelings in production. Reynor definitely going for the green horde technique. Oh, there's a disruptor shot right in the heart of Reynor's guys. At least 3 Ravagers were killed in a single shot. Reynor did get vengeance on that disruptor though. Oh, carrier ready. The first 2 are revealed as they appear on the field. There's 2 more in production. That is the beauty of the double Stargate Void Ray opening. It makes that Golden Armada transition so much easier. Reynor researching adrenal glands. I think he needs Corruptors or at least Ultralisks though. There we are, 8 Corruptors in production. But his army is so small and the Zealots have ripped right into his 3rd. Oh, GG's out. Reynor has conceded. ShoWTimE takes the lead. ShoWTimE starts the series 1-0. ShoWTimE was just spot on for his composition throughout this game. When the queen count was low, he went for Phoenix. When Reynor went for the bull between ShoWTimE's natural and 3rd, ShoWTimE added disruptors to devastating effect. And when Reynor tried to turn it around with Banelings, ShoWTimE transitioned to carriers, though he was probably looking to do that anyway. That and his absolutely perfect macro earned him a solid Game 1 win. But as unfair as it is, I want to spend my time complimenting Reynor, as he had one exchange that was so sensational we need to see it again, in slow-mo. Reynor shows us what Speedlings can do against disruptors. This was like Apollo Creed dancing around Rocky. Bad analogy. These disruptors do not fare nearly as well as Rocky. But if you check this out from Reynor's view perspective, you get an appreciation of how few seconds Reynor actually spends on this. Most of his attention is on the main battle to the west. This is like an afterthought. Most of us couldn't do this if it was our only objective. Anyway, special thanks to James Irwin, who's been working really hard to educate me as to the value of watching these camera angles from the players. Anywho, the point of all this is to award Reynor with a micro moment. And to think it's only game 1. On that note, I better stop my yakking and get us to game 2. Adjutant, if you would please.
The game begins now.
Oh, it begins all right. But this time it looks like game 2 is going to be on Jag and Natha. 50% more Jag with unlimited Natha. So with game 1, I actually felt like Reynor did a really good job, even though he lost. He did a really good job of playing the player. ShoWTimE is usually a macro toss and he wins in the later phases of the game. So armed with that knowledge, Reynor really cut a lot of corners. And he took some risks that set himself up really well for the mid-game. And then he got himself blown up by disruptors in the kill pit, but I thought he had a really smart opening. The question is, does he try it again? And if he does, is ShoWTimE going to be ready for it and kill him early? In an interview, our German Protoss player famously said, Starcraft is his whole life. He says everything he does is designed to make him a better player. Well, this then is his chance to prove it, because it's ShoWTimE! Alright, gate and go for ShoWTimE, hatch first for Reynor. With that same little proxy check that I like so much. Gotta be careful, when you're the champ, everyone's looking to cheese ya. And speaking of things that I like about Reynor, how about his post-championship interview? He was asked what he wants to do now that he's won the entire league. His answer was, obviously, I want to win everything else. And honestly, could you have really expected a different answer from Reynor? Hey, an overly dramatic hatch pop. What an unexpected bonus. So we've got ourselves 2 queens and how many lings? Actually, no lings. I haven't seen that in forever. I was about to say these guys are doing identical openings, but not quite. Core complete, ShoWTimE makes the adept, and once again he is going with Stargate. Warp Gate research then follows. Still no lings for Reynor, I'm not wrong about that. He's squeezing out a couple of extra drones in exchange for 0 map presence. Gonna take his 3rd right on time. That probe's like, wait, don't the lings normally chase me out by now? Apparently that's the job of the queen. I'm not sure that probe has any incentive to leave. I think technically he's got map control. Last game, ShoWTimE elected for Void Ray into Oracle. Happy with his formula for game 1, he might be doing a complete rinse and repeat here. Very different map this time though. Yes, it is going to be a Void Ray first. Jaganatha is larger with many more expansions. Oh, Reynor's now making his lings as the Adept shows up. That's a neat way to keep him protected, just don't make any. The Adept waltzes right in, almost gets a kill, but Reynor with the Spore conversion. That means our first blood is probably going to be this hapless scouting overlord. He's moving in like a depressed Eeyore because he knows he's going to be a close-up for my amusement. There's no way he's escaping that Void Ray. It's rallied right at him. Riddle for you, what has 8 tentacles and is a waterfall of guts? This guy. Well, at least he got the scout on the Stargate. ShoWTimE's eyeing his 3rd. He's got the minerals. This really feels a bit like game 1 in that we're probably going to have low contact for the first several minutes. Reynor may be researching Ling Speed, but it's all drones and queens for him. Econ. And Oracle is indeed gonna follow that Void Ray. He definitely appears to be busting out the same build, right down to the double Stargate, which he has just initiated. Reynor's using the same air defense technique, 2 queens on either side. No spore in the middle as of yet though, no spores at all. Possibly another economic gamble for Reynor. Here comes that Oracle, skirting on the outside of that main. He's gonna get the scout on the lair timing, and he's gonna grab a couple of drone kills. Reynor's prediction of the entry point for the Oracle was wrong, but when you're making drones at the accelerated rate that Reynor is, I'm not sure he's gonna miss 2 all that much. Forge in a Twilight Council for ShoWTimE. Roach Warren for Reynor. It comes after the lair once again. This build is so greedy it needs a curly tail. I don't think Reynor's actually crossed the halfway point of the map with the unit yet, other than an Overlord. Double Void Ray in production. And ShoWTimE's play has been conservative as well. He hasn't lost a unit. It's really got him where he wants to be on tech. This time around though, the money is really flowing to Reynor. The Oracle's made his way to the right hand side. He drops the Revelation on the 3rd base. I think it's fair to say that Reynor's going for mass queens once again. We've got +1 attack in charge for ShoWTimE. Hold the phone, the Oracle circled back in. He faked me out, he faked out Reynor. ShoWTimE just feasted on the drones, 7 kills there, and the Oracle is saved. Reynor's forced to make another huge round of drones to compensate. ShoWTimE just bought himself even more time to make his ultimate engine. He's now adding that late robo, which I surmise is for Warp Prism because he's getting that charge upgrade. Whoa, Reynor just reacted, a Nidus network. Though this might have been his plan from the get-go, he's been making a ton of queens. I gather the idea is to put them on ShoWTimE's doorstep. In Game 1, Reynor spread his queens around and built a net around that Oracle to finally crush it. This time though, the queens are going really far out. Shouldn't they be waiting for the Nidus? Oh, he's doing both here. Half his queens are marching forward, the other half are clustering around the Nidus. It might be a bit of a fake out. The Oracle's gonna report a small group of queens advancing. But in fact, Reynor has 11 queens, 2 more on the way. There's the worm call. It's very conservative, way down at the middle of the map. It's the David Copperfield queens. They vanish. Roach Ravager coming up to support the queen march. And the dramatic exit. There was too much smoke. We didn't get to see the big rise. The queens are perfectly placed, so they go through the acceleration zone. They've got to catch up to the original 5. ShoWTimE understands the threat. He's making 4 extra shield batteries. He doesn't have a kill pit this time, and Reynor's hitting before he can get a robotic support bay. He won't have disruptors. This will have to be a very different kind of defense for ShoWTimE, though you'd be forgiven if you thought you saw a lot of similarities. It may seem like a small thing, but Reynor is hitting a full minute earlier here. Last game got epic right around the 8-minute mark. Oh, a second worm goes down to reinforce the attack. It's the old what if Zerg had a warp prism. The irony being, of course, that ShoWTimE does not have one. His money's getting dumped into Zealous to survive. But it's been working. A battery overcharge has been the difference maker for ShoWTimE. It just needs to keep him alive long enough to get the units he needs to defend. All the shield batteries, though, are making it hard for ShoWTimE to maneuver. But now he's able to punch forward. Thanks to his battle duct, he has an Archon. And Archon Immortal is so hard for Zerg to handle with mid-tier tech. Void Rays are going to target the Nidus. If he can kill the worm, that would be huge. Reynor's not making it easy. He keeps transfusing it, but it dies. And then he makes another one right behind it. Jeez, these guys keep me guessing. I can't tell if ShoWTimE's on the verge of getting crushed or if he's about to take this series. I wouldn't call Reynor all in, but he's stopped making any kind of drones, and he's focused solely on bringing units to the front. No more tech of any kind. ShoWTimE, on the other hand, is trying to sneak out a warp prism. We'll have to see if that's for immortal juggling, or if he wants to try to warp in some kind of counterattack. Reynor sees the battery overcharge, and he pulls back for a little pause. He's gonna let that time out rather than smash his army trying to break it. ShoWTimE uses the pause to start an extra robo, and his warp prism is gonna glide on out of the battle. If Reynor missed that going out, his next chance to learn about it is going to be when Zealots show up in his mineral line. The battery overcharge times out and Reynor swoops in. ShoWTimE's down 45 supply, but Archons surrounded by shield batteries are very hard to finish off. ShoWTimE's got a robotics support bay on the way now as well. I think he wants his disruptors. It's starting to feel a little bit like in this game, it's ShoWTimE that's in the kill pit. Oh, ShoWTimE really needs this to work. He's saved up $1,000 for this warp in. He's got the gates to go for 8. It's not go for it, it's go for 8. Actually 6, because 2 Zealots decided to stay back and supervise. ShoWTimE's full attention may be on this mega battle, which Reynor is now retreating from. The Zealots have done the trick. They've forced the pullback. Reynor knows he has to have his house in order if he wants to win this game. The Queens are back from the Nidus network, and Reynor goes to work on the cleanup. That means ShoWTimE gets his double disruptors out. Reynor's Ravagers come back to renew the attack, but they're going to find a significant difference in composition this time. Ravagers and Disruptor Blasts do not mix well, and ShoWTimE's going to try to bring his disruptor count up to 4. I'd like to actually see him try the Phoenix again. The Queens are no longer supporting the attack. I thought ShoWTimE was dead, but I think he's bringing this back. I mean, he's still down 40 supply. And Reynor has the money, but I really like the composition for the Protoss now. And you can tell Reynor doesn't. He's going home. Which may be exactly the right call, because that Warp Prism's still out there. But the Queens say, hold my beer. They zone out that Warp Prism. Is ShoWTimE just cleaning up Nidus worms, or is he actually looking to counter? Is he even more bullish than I am? Hey, ShoWTimE did make some Phoenix. They're out there somewhere. So Reynor took his 4th during the attack, and now he's just taking his 5th. I think ShoWTimE badly wants to take that 4th, but it's covered in creep. Looks like he got caught without an observer. He's made it now, but now he's got to wait for the creep to recede. That might force ShoWTimE into having to get aggressive. Ooh, nice hit there. I was going to say he could fall too far behind economically if he doesn't do damage. But Reynor's not just going to let him walk over to his hatches. Reynor's making a big whack of Banelings. He doesn't have Baneling speed though, he's going to need to make that. You'd almost get the impression that our players have been kind of busy. Warp Prism is forced away unsuccessfully. It's loaded with Zealots. 21 slow Banes now available to Reynor. Oh, he's sneaking them around the right-hand side. Reynor's faking weakness to suck ShoWTimE in. This is so hard to pull off with slow Banes, but Reynor is the man! Emerald Fireworks going off! Reynor maxed out right before he pounced, and now he's trading away. He's clearing out the disruptors, getting the expensive tech. ShoWTimE is warping in Stalkers to replace them, but Reynor's Ravagers are happy with that fight. The supply lead is now over 60. ShoWTimE pulls in the reserve Phoenix, but the Queens are here. It's just not gonna work like it did in game 1. Reynor's closing in on the Warp Prism. ShoWTimE is microing the Stalkers for his lives, and he GG's! Reynor ties up the series! We get a game 3, people. We get a game 3. Well, after that, I just kind of want to get to game 3. So let me just quickly reiterate. In game 2, Reynor brought his punch a full minute earlier, hitting before the disruptors were out. Most Protoss players get absolutely wrecked by that. ShoWTimE made it look like he actually held. But he was hurt economically by it, and he felt he had the need to make it up by making something happen. And when he advanced to the middle of the map, he got the 21 Baneling salute. Oh, that's gotta be a thing. We gotta trademark that. But unfortunately, we can only use it when there's exactly 21 Banelings. Yeah, who cares? Let's get to game 3. Adjutant, if you will, please.
The game begins now.
And game 3 takes us to Pillars of Gold. This game might be a good opportunity for me to mentally say goodbye to Pillars of Gold. It's no longer in the current map pool. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. Got nothing against it. Just don't have any of those warm fuzzy associations that I have with some of the other maps. Neither of the third base expansion options are really that desirable. It's a bit of a pick your poison tactical decision type thing. Oh, this Overlord needs a pedicure. His toenails are getting a little on the long side. Just be glad you're not Reynor's first overlord. That poor guy has suffered death by Void Raid 2 games in a row now. Okay, we got a gate and go for Protoss and a hatch first for Zerg. No proxy scout check first for Reynor. He's feeling more comfortable that ShoWTimE's gonna try to macro him to death. And speaking of our Protoss player, public service announcement, please don't call him Spectacle Chrono or Display Duration. It's ShoWTimE! Extractor pool for Reynor. ShoWTimE's probe is timed out to see that. I'm really curious to see what other kind of corners Reynor's gonna cut. He's definitely decided how he wants to play ShoWTimE, and I think he's dead on. ShoWTimE adds that Nexus right before the gateway completes, and then he's gonna follow through with his core. Our Zerg player is a former Terran Marshal turned rebel. One of the major figures in the Corporulu sector. He is Reynor! Will Reynor be so crazy with his corner cutting that he'll go 0 lings again? It's pretty weird to see Reynor with no presence on the map, and he's really good with his lings. Eggplant colored geyser, and we get 2 queens and 0 lings. He started extra drones again. Core completes. Oh, there's the lings. There's 2 lings. He just delayed them ever so slightly. ShoWTimE chrono boosts that adept. Are we gonna get a 3rd Stargate in a row? We are in the exact same spot. I'm catching on where he likes to stash his tech. Reynor sends out a drone for his 3rd. He's almost got the minerals. ShoWTimE's gonna go for the block. This is a situation where lings could come in handy. Here they come. They gotta get rid of this interloper. Hatch goes down. ShoWTimE's making a 2nd adept. He delayed his warp gate research ever so slightly. And ShoWTimE's 1st adept is just about to arrive. ShoWTimE's usually very conservative with this single adept. He doesn't look to trade it out. But this game, he's making more. Let's see how that changes things. Shade heads to the ramp for the main. And it terminates. He got a look at the timing on the ling speed. He'll see the way the spawning pool is visibly shaking like a bowl of jello. Alright, ShoWTimE's linking up his adepts here. This could be more serious than his usual scouts. Bypasses the queens, headed for the main. No, he flips down to the natural. He goes after the drones. Scores the 1st blood, forces some spore conversions. But I think Reynor's gonna make that a one-way trip. There's the escape shade, but the lings are on him. He's taking heavy damage. Both adepts die. ShoWTimE trading out more aggressively than he did in Game 1 and Game 2. I like it. He's giving Reynor a different look. And speaking of different looks, no Void Ray. That's a 2nd Oracle in production. And it looks like the 1st one's being used to secure his 3rd. Which is definitely what the doctor has ordered because the lings are on the way. They might even arrive before the probe. ShoWTimE doesn't have his 400 minerals yet. Oh, the probe is there. He's got a chance to snag it. Chance nothing. He's gonna get it. Reynor is on point with his lings. The adept's gonna chase off the rest of the lings, and that's gonna free up the Oracle to head on to attack. Or not. Reynor with the fake out. He's going for the 2nd probe. He can really delay that Nexus. He gets it, and it is an added bonus. ShoWTimE is forced to pull back his Oracle. This is giving Reynor more time to get his spores up. This is interesting. In a way, Reynor's investment in lings is actually saving him drones. ShoWTimE's going up to 3 Oracles. You can kill a lot of drones with 3 Oracles, but not if you're forced to use them to defend. But ShoWTimE looks to be done defending. He's got 4 adepts headed down to attack. And I think it's a multi-prong. I think he means to hit with the Oracles at the exact same time. This is a nasty little attack here. Reynor, though, hasn't cheaped out on the spores, and he's got his queens. If this was Game 2 Reynor, he might have outright died to this. The adepts select a 3rd base as their target. The Oracles look to be going for the main. No fear from those adepts. They just want to trade for drones. My life for Reynor's drone count. It's not really working, though. Reynor hits the drone pull. Oh, and the Oracles get pushed back. Reynor cleans this up. Only a single adept shades out with her life. And just barely at that. A great opener for Reynor. He's got to be happy with that. He's got a worker lead already, and he's halfway done lair. which he's doing before Roachborn or Baneling Nest again. The positive for ShoWTimE is that he's kept all 3 of his oracles alive. That means Reynor can't feel safe. He's gonna have to keep obsessing about those. Reynor tries to seize the initiative by bringing his lings back to the Protoss 3rd. He's catching the probes in transfer, but there is a lot of defense here. Reynor didn't have a lot of success, but I really liked his timing. He also forced the oracles back, again. Lair completes for the Zerg. Twilight Council finishes for the Protoss, +1 attack underway. It's gonna be +1 range for Reynor that he's making at his Evo. Of course, he doesn't actually have a unit that can use it at this time. He's busy droning up and making a 4th. Oh, he's also making a Spire. And finally that Roachborn. Reynor is a busy beaver all of a sudden. ShoWTimE with the Revelation tag on that 3rd. I remember in game 1 he used that to find a hole for his oracle. I don't normally think that much of Revelation tags, but in the hands of ShoWTimE it's a deadly weapon. Infestation Pit. Reynor suddenly a Techosaurus this game. Not to be outdone, ShoWTimE starting up a Battle Duck. With no stalkers on the field, that Overseer has free reign of ShoWTimE's base. He sees all. Game 1 and 2 were very similar. This game is not that. Way different. Oracles are gonna see the 4th. Are they gonna get the scout on the Spire? Reynor's got his Queen Dragnet out there. He's making it difficult for them. Roach speed starts up, though no actual Roach. There's the tag. He's gonna see the Spire. This is great. Both players really keeping tabs on each other this time around. And the no longer surprised Spire is gonna pop up. ShoWTimE starts a Phoenix. He wants to get rid of that pesky Overseer. And here's our Jack in the Box. Oh! He canceled it. Talk about a last second. That thing actually finished. And instead, Reynor's making Swarm Host. Okay, was Reynor adjusting on the fly here because the Spire got scouted? Or was that a fake that he had planted? I could totally see it being either. Either way, this game just got even cooler. Some of you may know my thoughts on ShoWTimE's Swarm Host defense. I think he's the #1 Swarm Host defender out there. And I'm including Trap and Zest when I say that. I think it's crazy to try to bust out Swarm Hosts on ShoWTimE. But Reynor is the world champ. He can do anything. That Overseer finally gets his eviction papers. Boy, did he get his money's worth on that. There's no Nidus for the Swarm Host, but there is a huge Roach escort. No, not that kind of escort. Get your head out of the gutter. ShoWTimE immediately pushes out. He wants to get on top of those Swarm Hosts. On top! Somebody stop me! The Oracles did dump all their energy into killing one. Swarm Hosts are armored, not light. So pulsar beams are not very effective against them. But what else are you saving that energy for? ShoWTimE has started his 4th. Not a good time. Reynor's like, I don't mind if you tag my forces. I'm coming right at you, bro. He's gonna get himself a nice high ground position to launch from. ShoWTimE making 4 shield batteries. That's absolutely what he needs. Battery overcharge will be key to his survival. The Locusts going after those expensive Immortals. Reynor's almost maxed. ShoWTimE with a huge supply deficit. His forces get cut off. He's warping in Templars to try to make Archons. The Barbarians are at the gates, and they are hungry. ShoWTimE using his double robo to make disruptors. Can he Nova Beam his way out of this mess? The Mushroom Men are coming back with the next wave. This time, though, the shield batteries will be here. Reynor's got the superior income. He stopped at 78 drones, but that's enough to support this. Those Locusts are essentially free. The Disruptors are here. Can't wait to see how they're going to play into this. But time's up. The next wave is here. This time, ShoWTimE's going to try to fight it off. The Disruptors are for the Roach Ravager. He's actually making 2 more Disruptors. The Archons are fighting right in front of the shield batteries. That's where they want to be. The Locusts are dying off and timing out. And now the charge lots are making their move. ShoWTimE's gonna take the ramp. The Swarm Hosts have to pull back. And ShoWTimE weathers storm number 2. Reynor makes 20 more Roaches. ShoWTimE going for Disruptor 5 and 6. I don't know how anybody survived Swarm Host down 40 supply, but ShoWTimE is doing it. He did have the upgrade advantage in that fight, but it's about to end. Reynor starts building his 5th base. He's even starting to build a bit of a bank, and he's halfway to Hive Tech. No, but how is he gonna deal with those Disruptors? Perhaps by attacking where they are not, the swarm hosts are going after the 4th. ShoWTimE has to peel those locusts off his nexus. But that puts the swarm hosts on cooldown. It's the breather ShoWTimE needs. He's still got to make pylons to get his supply up. He starts +3 attack. Those oracles would love to hunt down some swarm hosts. That's the same original 3 he's had all game. They've been worth their weight in gold. Ah, a Nidus network for Reynor. That's a better way to leverage the power of his swarm hosts. They're so much harder to deal with when they're popping up like ninjas. Oh, we've seen ShoWTimE do this before. He gets his zealots running around on his flanks. It has a dual purpose. It gets him vision for Nidus worms and he sends them south. And he makes them counterattack like Neeblots. That's what's happening right now. On both sides. Reynor's anticipated this. He's got his spine crawlers ready. They gently poke the zealots on the shoulder until they decide to leave the establishment. No spine crawlers on the left-hand side. It forces the pullback from the Zerg, which is really what ShoWTimE is after. He's used that time to finish his pylons and get a fleet beacon. But watch what the Mushroom Men can do now. When ShoWTimE sent his zealots south, he lost sight of these corners. ShoWTimE cancels his cannons because he knows they're gonna die. Locusts in his mineral line. He has to pull all his probes. ShoWTimE is adding an extra gateway. Oh, this time the zealots will spot the worm. They're a little bit late. But maybe they can make life nasty for the swarm host. And he swings his main army to the right. Reynor has to retreat. The swarm host were off cooldown. And so the attack on the east gets shut down. Reynor's backup plan is a lot more conservative. He's got a mid-map worm. Reynor's gonna try to save the worm on the left-hand side. ShoWTimE's largely out of position here. He's only got his disruptors available to him. But that is enough! Holy! Reynor's Ravager army is decimated. Nobody told me there was a kill pit there. ShoWTimE finds the mid-map worm as well. Reynor defends it, but he would have liked to have used that wave for something else. Double carriers in production with +1 air attack. ShoWTimE is really gaining in strength here. He's gone from done like dinner to almost even Steven. He's gonna shut this worm down too. Reynor's pivoting to banelings. He made an insane number of lings and he's getting baneling speed. That'll be a lot harder for the disruptors to deal with. And he's got another worm to the west. 40 more banelings in production. Both our players are maxed, but Reynor's about to blow up the entire map. Baneling speed is close, but not yet done. Reynor's new spire is done though. He's definitely gonna be glad he got that. As good as 1.1 billion banelings are, they're still not able to hit carriers. Blizzard did not give them the Scourge mode that I requested. Oh, perfect positioning for these swarm hosts. ShoWTimE's vaunted perfect corner vision fell off and he came too late. Reynor goes for the cannon first. The shield batteries are getting a workout. Cannon falls, he's onto the Nexus. It's a laser light show! Come in, Ire, come in, a base has fallen. Reynor's attempts to get a worm up in the main have not gone so well. The interceptors are picking it apart. This prompts Reynor to get going on his corruptor production. He's maxed out though, so he can't really transition. Reynor has a plan for that though. I think it's called hit him with 1 billion banelings. That is one expensive death ball for ShoWTimE. He does not want to trade that out. Reynor knows he can remax way faster. Oh, disruptor shots forcing the banelings back. Reynor losing a ton of banelings for nothing. Minimal losses for ShoWTimE. I'm wrong though, Reynor just remaxes with more lings, which he's converting back into banelings. And his swarm hosts are gonna kill off another Nexus. It's Laser Light Show the sequel. ShoWTimE's 4th base was left undefended. He pulled his probes. ShoWTimE though is looking for vengeance by striking at the Zerg's 3rd. There's tech to be killed off here though. Reynor keeps both his Nidus network and his infestation pit here. Swarm host tech is about to go offline. Reynor even gets supply blocked. He's having to remake his overlords. Oh, I love that the oracles are dropping stasis wards. ShoWTimE's oracles have just been a factor all game. Reynor's swarm hosts have fallen back to protect his natural. Just when I thought ShoWTimE was out of this, he completely flips the game on its head. Oh, but now it's ShoWTimE who's in the kill pit. The banelings finally get what they want. Everything on the ground gets obliterated, and this lets Reynor transition to Corruptors. 11 on the way, the carriers are not going to be happy about that. And just when I think ShoWTimE has it, Reynor flips this game on its head. A double high ground surround. ShoWTimE looking to try again. He's gonna get that Roach Warren. And the charge lots are getting on the Swarm Host. Reynor can't remake those. The Queens try to go after the carriers and they hit the Stasis Wards. The Swarm Host retreat to the main with the charge lots right on them. But the Corruptors are finally here. ShoWTimE tries to flee. I did a video once on the kill animation on carriers in slow-mo. It is so awesome. The lights go out before it blows up. ShoWTimE trying to do a Stalker transition to deal with the Corruptors. It's coming, but not fast enough. ShoWTimE's carrier investment is over. ShoWTimE's actually looking to replace them with Void Rays. That's an excellent choice. A solid answer to Reynor's heavy investment in Corruptors. But for now, the late game Stalkers appear to be doing the trick. ShoWTimE's gonna add Blink for them. Reynor trying to remake his lost Roach Warren. His supply is really falling. He's having to get by on Lings and Banes alone. Okay, Void Rays may be good against Corruptors, but not when you've only got 2 of them. Reynor's controlling the air, ShoWTimE's got the ground. Yeah, you better run, Oracles. The Swarm Hosts have a defensive wave of Locusts. The Stalkers can't stand up against that. They are fast enough to flee, though. ShoWTimE's actually trying to add in some Colossi for that contingency. Our once maxed players with banks now have neither. Reynor's actually moved his Corruptors to attack. Rather than just have them die to Stalkers, he's looking to see what he can do to the Protoss economy. Good old Acid Rainbow. It always looks like it's not working at first, and then suddenly it picks up steam. Laser Light Show Part 3, Return of the Corruptor. Reynor's definitely hurting for supply, but he's holding his third. ShoWTimE's gonna recall his Stalkers. A good call, he wants to protect that base. Oracle still getting the job done. ShoWTimE's ahead by almost 40 workers. He's out-resourcing Reynor in a big way right now. Oh, that Colossus is never even gonna see a Locust. Never mind, take them out. A terrific interception. Reynor's got his Roach Warren back. He's going for his bread and butter, adding on the Roaches. And he's still got 9 of his original Swarm Hosts left. Does ShoWTimE have the stopping power? He warps in 4 Zealots and he will have shield batteries. He tries for a battery overcharge, but the Locusts take that down. But the Stalkers arrive and they shut that down. Will they be out of position for the Ravager attack? No, they will not. Hey, Reynor finally got one of those pesky Oracles. ShoWTimE's down to 2. Reynor's not remaking his drones here. He's gonna add 30 more Lings, many of which I'm sure will be Banelings soon. ShoWTimE definitely seems to be in control here, but he has to find a way to close this series out. We've seen that Reynor can come back into any game or series. He was the Katowice comeback king. ShoWTimE batters the Zerg back, but a wave of Locusts will put an end to that. I have really been digging this game. The game is completely devolved into a series of smaller battles happening around the map. Oh, those Stalkers are gonna waltz right into the flock of Locusts. Oh, Stalkers are so not good for this. That's gotta be so satisfying for Reynor. He lets one live just so they can tell the tale. Oh, ShoWTimE's gonna get revenge by getting Reynor's most important hatch. ShoWTimE was trying to sneak a Warp Prism into the main. Reynor shuts it down. Reynor was very crafty about keeping his tech out of his main this game. Oh, he's lost that 4th. I guess you could say that tech hiding kind of backfired on him. ShoWTimE really hurt him when he took his 3rd. ShoWTimE's actually adding an extra Nexus in the forward left position. He has a pretty commanding economic lead right now, and that could really seal the deal. Reynor's looking into what he can do to rebuild his economy. But I think at this point, he needs to win a huge swing battle if he wants to get back into this game, and maybe this is the one for him. ShoWTimE doesn't want the risk. He's gonna flee, and that's gonna help Reynor narrow that supply gap. All he has to do is outposition his opponent a mere 5 more times. Oh, the Abducts on the Archons are met with a big blink forward. Uh-oh, ShoWTimE's gonna rebuild his Disruptors. That has been his answer to the Ravagers all series long. If Reynor can just keep ShoWTimE defending his own bases, maybe he can get some of his own back up. Yikes. Neither player really has that impressive an army right now. They are both looking so battered. Oh, ShoWTimE blinks on the Swarm Host there. ShoWTimE is being very patient. We'll have to see if that patience pays off or it costs him. Reynor wants him to make a mistake so he can punish him. and get back into this game. ShoWTimE does not want to give it to him. But he can't do that and close out the game at the same time. Oh, the Corruptors are hunting the last Oracle. It escapes. He can't lose that Oracle. I'm like emotionally attached. I want that Oracle to adopt me. Reynor got his Nexus up, but he's not droning up, at least not yet. You can really feel the strength of the Zerg army collapse when those swarm hosts go off cooldown. Oh, here we go. ShoWTimE adding back in the Zealot run-bys. This is gonna make life really hard on the Zerg, especially when he's down to 36 drones. Here's the Zerg new base. It's Reynor's prized possession, even without gas geysers on it. Reynor cleans up the Zealots at the 4th. Zealot in aisle 4, cleaning crew to aisle 4, please. ShoWTimE is pushing out. His army's a lot lower tech than it once was. Mostly Zealot Stalker, but it's really quite mobile. Reynor's gambling hard that ShoWTimE won't find his base in the bottom right. That's the potential death knell here. The Lings scrag a disruptor, Caustic Vials get another, but the Ravagers take their hits. ShoWTimE up a decisive 50 supply at this point. Reynor's back is really against the wall, and he acknowledges it with a GG. It may have whimpered out at the end, but that was a great game to end a terrific series. And with this win, ShoWTimE is the first out of his group. Some of the disruptor hits in this game were just insane. I mean, they were good all series long, but there were a few in here that were just off the charts. And for the most part, Reynor's actively dodging. It wasn't like game 1 where he had that fish in the barrel kill pit thing going. I mean, watch this one here. Reynor comes down the ramp with what's supposed to be an overwhelming number of roaches. He scurries back up a few seconds later, down 30 supply. Eventually, Reynor's forced to learn that ramps are just not his friend in this game. Here, on the first 2 hits, he drops 37 supply. Those hits don't happen. I don't know that ShoWTimE wins this game or the series. But that's kind of silly, because they did happen, and it wasn't luck. ShoWTimE made them happen. Anyway, ShoWTimE maintains his title, in my book at least, as the all-time Swarm Host defender. He's not the first Protoss player to ever win against Swarm Host, but he does it so convincingly, and he does it against players who really know how to play it. ShoWTimE's PvZ is really fearsome right now. But what you really need to see is his carriers blowing up in slow-mo. I know I've done this before, but it's worth showing it to the new folks. The detail is just astounding. Small micro explosions, then the blackout, and then the dispersion circle. It's crazy how it's all there. Anywho, time to fade into the sunset. Let me just say, from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your Starcraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your Starcraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang Starcraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.